Good evening, this is Viewpoint. I'm Zakka. Jacob, a very happy new year at the outset of a brand new year. May you have health, prosperity and wisdom through 2023. And in what was a significant verdict on the very first working day of 2023, today a constitutional bench of the Supreme Court upheld the validity of demonetization. Demonetization of 500 and 1,000 rupee notes, which was cancelled by the central government in November of 2016. 4 judges opined in favour. One judge, Justice Nagaratna, dissented. She said that while the objective of DeMo was good, the procedure to introduce it was flawed. But the political attacks continue. While the BJP claims vindication of the Prime Minister's policy to fight black money with evidence and numbers to back that, the Congress says today's judgment is not an endorsement of what it calls a flawed policy.
8 नवंबर 2016 की रात्रि को 12 बजे से 500 रुपए और 1000 रुपए के करेंसी नोट कानूनन अमान्य होगी.
6 years after Prime Minister Modi addressed the nation and announced the decision to demonetize 500 and 1,000 rupee currency notes, in a landmark 4:1 majority judgment, the Supreme Court called the policy valid. Speaking for the majority on the bench, Justice B.R. Gavai said the purpose of demonetization was proper and there was prior consultation between the government and the RBI. The bench ruled that it was not relevant whether the objective of the overnight ban was achieved or not. There was reasonable nexus between the objectives of clamping down on black money and demonetization. The action of demonetization and the time period given for currency exchange were not hit by the doctrine of proportionality, and that the government has the power to demonetize all series of banknotes and is not limited to one series alone.
It has been held that there has to be a great deal of restraint insofar as interference in the matters pertaining to economic policy is concerned. The court cannot substitute its judgment for that of the legislature or the executive. It does not supplant the feel of the experts with its own views.
But one of the judges had a dissenting verdict. Justice Nagaratna said that while the object of demonetization was noble and well-intentioned, the process undertaken was bad in law. She said the policy of demonetization should originate from the central board of the RBI and not the government. There was no independent application of mind by the central bank, and the entire exercise was carried out in 24 hours between the 7th of November and the 8th of November 2016. An opinion of the RBI Central Board was sought only after the government took the decision to demonetize 86% of the currency. While the BJP claimed vindication,
इस पॉलिसी की नीयत और नीति ठीक थी. It was well intentioned. जिस तरीके से ट्रांसपेरेंसी आई है, और आज इस विषय को उठाने का दिन है, डिजिटल पेमेंट में कितनी बड़ी गति आई है.
the opposition latched on to the sole dissenting judgment.
The majority Supreme Court verdict deals with the limited objective, limited issue of the process of demonetization, not with its outcome.
99.30% demonetized money अब सिस्टम में आ गया. इसका मतलब कोई ब्लैक मनी रिकवरी नहीं हुआ. जीडीपी ग्रोथ गिरा नहीं गिरा. डिमोनेटाइजेशन गलत फैसले की वजह से प्रधानमंत्री के.
The demonetization decision had sparked massive confusion and chaos for several days as people scrambled for new currency notes. There were long queues outside banks and ATMs for days on end. Ahead of the announcement, Prime Minister Modi had spoken to CNN News18 and had made it clear that his government was cracking down on black money.
हमने एसआईटी बना दी, एसआईटी काम कर रही है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट इसकी निगरानी कर रही है और हम इस काम पे. दूसरा एक महत्वपूर्ण काम हुआ कि ब्लैक मनी के खिलाफ ऐसा कानून बना है कि अब हिंदुस्तान से कोई विदेश में रुपये भेजने की हिम्मत नहीं कर सकता है. तो ये तो एक काम हो गया कि नया ब्लैक मनी का खेल समाप्त हुआ. दूसरा, इन भारत के अंदरूनी जो काले धन है उसके लिए हमने काफी कानूनी परिवर्तन किए हैं.
Several opposition leaders, including Congress MP Rahul Gandhi, had claimed that demonetization was never about fighting black money, but it was an attack on small traders. So has the Supreme Court's verdict blunted the opposition's attack?
All right, let me now go across to our guests who are joining us. Charu Pragya is BJP spokesperson, Ashpreet Kadyal, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Vivek Narayan Sharma is an advocate on record of the Supreme Court, and Bindu Dalmia is a columnist and former chairperson of the Niti Aayog Committee on Financial Literacy. Let me start with you, Charu Pragya, because it was a 4-1 majority judgment. The opposition is still citing two things. One, that today's judgment is not an endorsement of the outcome of demonetization, only its procedure. And more importantly, they're also citing the dissenting judge to say, while the objective may have been noble, it was bad in law.
Zakka, good evening. And though you call it a 4-1 judgment, I actually want to say it is a complete 5-all judgment, because the fourth judge was also questioning the method that was used for demonetization, not demonetization itself. And we have to remember that with a decision like that, a lot of things got impacted. 6 years is long enough now for both the Supreme Court and other organizations to measure impact of demonetization. And one thing is clear. The counterfeit currency in circulation has gone down. The use of currency in circulation, what's called as CIC, that has gone down to only 20%. The use of checks, papers that we used to write to make payments, has gone down to around 12%. Digital transactions have increased. In fact, UPI has been in use maximum in India. Not anywhere else in the world UPI transactions have been as many as India has seen that.
Okay.
And it is only making our economy stronger. I think the opposition only wants to pick on issues which even the Supreme Court has decided in favor of the current government.
Okay.
And use a very... a narrow vision to look at something like this. See, this was not about only black money. This was about a variety of problems.
Okay, so let me ask Ashpreet Kadyal of the Congress. 4-1 majority judgment. This is what they said, and Justice Gavai read out the majority order. The purpose of demonetization was proper. There was prior consultation between the RBI, Central Board, and the government. It's not relevant whether the objective was achieved or not. Action and time period given for currency exchange was not hit, and that the government, and this is the most important part, that the government has the power and the authority to demonetize all series of notes. You cannot say that they don't have the power to demonetize certain notes and they can demonetize certain others. So this is a ringing endorsement, if anything, of demonetization.
One, the decision of the Supreme Court is a technical decision which is based upon procedure and legality. Here, the question is about merits of demonetization. The question is about the consequences of demonetization. The first consequence of demonetization is that there was a sharp decline in the GDP of India from 8.3 in 2016 to 6.8 in 2017, which further falls to 6.5 in 2018, and then falls to 3.7 in 2019. And unemployment in 2019 hit a 45-year high. You know, and India has only had to see the demerits of demonetization. All the money came into the banks. 99.3% of demonetized currency notes according to the RBI report. Number two, the wealthy individuals benefited. Number three, where a person used to stack 1 CR in his locker, today due to 2,000 currency notes can stack 2,000 crores. So therefore, corruption has also risen. You know, counterfeit currency is also...
Ashpreet, how do you explain then the fact that 238,000 shell companies, which are used for siphoning off black money, they have been identified and shut down. Charu referred to the UPI or financial transactions, digital payments that have happened as of October 22, in the month of October 22. One second. In the month of October 22, India recorded 730 crores of digital payments. The value is more than 10 lakh crores of digital payments in 1 month. Surely all of that has gone up because of demonetization.
A lot. See, you said some things have gotten shut. You know, it's definitely the MSMEs that got shut. The informal sector did get shut. The GDP growth of India also got shut. The development of India also got shut. So there are many things that have been shut because of demonetization. And here we have to debate upon the merits of the policy. We are here to debate if there was any, profit that was yielded because of the policy, and there's no profit.
Sir,
only loss.
on the one hand,
And
you
India's
say
India's
that
still
court did not go into the
suffering.
merits of the policy.
India's still
On the other hand, you're
suffering,
saying
Zakka,
court
because of
you should go into the merits of the policy. I think you're missing the tree for the woods. But let me ask Vivek Narayan Sharma. No, I think one valid point that's being asked is, should it be the remit of the Supreme Court of India to decide upon what was an executive decision? A government has been elected, a government has taken a decision, and of course, in a democracy, if people don't like a decision that the government has taken, they are well within their right to vote out that government. But that's not what happened. People, in fact, voted that government back to power. In fact, the most immediate election after demonetization in 2016 was the 2017 UP elections, 5 state assembly elections, and the BJP won a record majority in that election. So the question of should the court be the adjudicating authority of an executive decision, what does the court opine on that today?
So basically, a win justifies anything and everything.
No, I'm asking Vivek Narayan Sharma, please. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Jacob. And I'm very much in favor of the judgment which has been pronounced by the court today. And court had very clearly found out that court has a very limited power in regard to the executive decision scrutiny. So judicial scrutiny cannot be done except for the process. So process can be taken, and then they had adjudicated on the basis of the doctrine of proportionality and looking at whether there has been a nexus between the objective which the government wanted to achieve and the exercise of power of doing a particular thing. So both the things matched there. The court has clearly found that. And for that matter, 5 judges are on the same page. Justice Nagrath had only disagreed with regard to the portion of the interpretation of section 26(2) where the word any occurs. Justice Nagrath had opined that, had given a judgment that any would have a restrictive meaning and it cannot mean to all. And on the contrary, relying on the past judgments, various constitution bench judgments as well, the decision of 4 judges, they opined that it can't be given a restrictive meaning, and therefore any has to be read as all. So therefore all denomination.
No, but she also said in the dissenting judgment that the procedure should have been,
section 26(2).
While the government has the right to demonetize notes, as has happened in the past, the procedure should have been not through a gazette notification, but by a legislation in Parliament.
Justice Nagrath had stated so, but at the same time, the 4 judges have found that even in the kind of exercise which was done back in 1946 and 1978 demonetization, it was through an act of Parliament. So the court has found out that section 26(2) has the power, and that power is not limited by parliamentary action. So therefore, the power, because it was not applied in the past, so it is not a estoppel to apply it today.
Okay,
so
let me ask Bindu Dalmia. Again, one of the points that the opposition has been making for the last 6 years is that if the object of demonetization was to reduce the amount of currency in circulation or the usage of currency in circulation and the black money in circulation, as per an RBI report that was tabled in Parliament, out of the 16.42 lakh crore total value of 501,000 total value of currency that was in circulation in November 2016, 501,000 rupee notes accounted for 86%. And out of this 16 lakh crore, more than 15 lakh crore came back into circulation months after demonetization. So the question the opposition is asking is, what was the purpose? If a bulk of this currency has come back in circulation, then wasn't the purpose of demonetization defeated?
Thank you, Zakka, for having me on the show. Good evening to the viewers and my co-panelists. Zakka, one can't just take a micro view of it. You have to take a macro view 6 years down the line. And 6 years down the line, it is one of the most important structural reforms undertaken by this government post-independence. It is a work in progress because demonetization could not have cleaned up everything within a year or two. It probably still has not cleaned up a lot. But it was a step in the right direction because it helped formalize the economy, widen the taxpayer base, definitely helped weed out corruption to some extent, not possibly everything.
Okay.
Decrease the size of the informal economy and reduce the presence of counterfeit cash that funded criminal activity. Now, if you to go by statistics, also one more thing before I proceed to the statistics is that we all have noticed that there is a vast ethical shift between in corporate and personal culture towards black money. People are not so comfortable dealing in black money as they used to be earlier. Now, let's go by some of the statistics that you just talked about. 24 quarters after demonetization, the overall degree of personal and corporate tax buoyancy, higher net realizations in direct and indirect taxes, as seen from the last few quarters, and strong GST collections are definitely evidence of increasing formalization of India's economy.
Okay.
And hence the fulfillment of the demonetization
Objective of
goal as it was
demonetization.
intended.
So let me ask Charu Pragya, if the opposition is saying that today's judgment was not a judgment on the merits of demonetization or the outcomes of demonetization or the consequences of demonetization, merely on procedure, then is the jury still out, or is it simply that the opposition cannot accept the fact that whether it is in the People's Court or in the Supreme Court, it seems like the judges have opined, the people have opined in favor of this policy?
See, Zakka, so many times I feel the opposition in our country just chooses to object to things only because Prime Minister Modi has endorsed it. And after Modi ji's decision to carry out any executive decision, the stamp of approval comes from the people of our country, the stamp of approval comes from the Supreme Court of our country, and they still want to criticize it. See, there are lots of benefits which have come out of demonetization. You were previously talking about the figures that I told you for UPI. Even apart from that, India has become one of the largest fintech markets in the world. In fact, fintech startups in India have been ruling the roost, and so many youngsters have gotten a new opportunity at newer kind of career paths. There are so many things. I also like the moral responsibility that my co-panelist was talking about towards black money that a lot of citizens have now. So when the opposition chooses to criticize something only because Modi ji took that decision, I think I find it very petty and very small-minded. The stamp of approval came with elections, with Modi ji being chosen with a thumping majority. It also came from the people who found better, more efficient ways of working, and now from the Supreme Court.
So, Ashpreet, how do you then respond to whether it is the tax buoyancy? Last month, we had figures out this morning. Last month, in the month of December, GST tax collections were 1.49 lakh crores. That is a record since GST began in 2017. Direct tax collections are again expected to be record by the end of March 2023, and this is coming on the back of 2 years of COVID. You also have the prospective recession that everybody is talking about in the Western world. Charu was talking about unicorns. Over 100 unicorns created in the calendar year of 2022. I mean, and many of them are using digitization products.
Yes.
Many say the starting point of the digitization revolution in India when it comes to financial payments was demonetization.
Absolutely.
See, first, the cash to GDP ratio has increased. Let's understand that. There was a dip initially, but after that, it went back up, and even further than that, 72% jump has been there vis-a-vis cash in the last 6 years. And the cash circulation at today stands at 30.88 lakh crores. And number two, in November 2016, it was 17.97 lakh crores. You can see there's a major jump. Number one, just does away with the argument of cashless and, the digitization argument that the Bharatiya Janata Party is trying to make. Number two, money in Swiss banks. They said that the money in Swiss banks is going to come back. The corruption is going to end. But there's been a 14-year high that has been seen vis-a-vis the money that's been stacked in Swiss banks. It's 30,500 crores today. The figures are today. Number two, the repercussions of demonetization are very simple. 120 people died. Millions were left, jobless. No effect was there at all whatsoever on the black money. And basically, there's been a rise in fake currency notes. And we have been seeing that. I just want to ask Charu Pragya one thing.
Okay.
It is the people of India that have had to bear with the repercussions of demonetization. It has begotten a big hole in their pockets, which till date, they're having to suffer with. And the effect hasn't gone, the impact hasn't gone. And God knows how many more years it's going to take for the country
Okay,
to
Charu, respond to
from
that. Charu, respond to that.
So, if people had that much of a problem, repeated elections after 2016 would not have brought BJP back to power. Ashpreet, when you say you're speaking for the people of India, please pray tell me, which people are you talking about? Because like I said, this has been endorsed not just by the people by way of voting for Modi ji again, but also by the court, by economists. You need to look at the holistic picture here. Do you still want counterfeit currency in the market? Do you want loads and loads of cash to be used for transactions for buying drugs and weapons? Do you want the excessive use of currency? Because that circulation has gone down considerably. We are talking about fintech startups. We are talking about UPI payments. We are talking about a whole new world that has opened up for India. And instead of appreciating that, you claim to speak for all of India.
Okay, let me go back to our experts. Let me go back to our experts, please, Ashpreet, please. Vivek Narayan Sharma, and then subsequently to Bindu Dalmia as well. So Vivek Narayan Sharma, the legality is a settled question now by majority judgment 4-1 that there was no procedural flaw or illegality in the implementation of demonetization.
Correct. That is true. Apart from that, I want to bring out a very important fact before the viewers and the panelists. See, the US State Department report, which is very confidential, it is not so easily available, but I had I had read through that report. It showed that post-demonetization from 2017, 18, 19, 20, their terrorist incidents in Indian soil had reduced by more than 30%. While there was a global trend of increase of 15%, in Indian soil there was a decrease of 30%. And with regard to counterfeit currency, FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, which looks after, before demonetization, there were suspected transactions were more than 11.5 lakh. And then post demonetization, they had substantially reduced. So if we look at that, that demonetization had in fact benefited the country in terms of the terror attack. Therefore, terror financing was choked because of the demonetization.
Bindu Dalmia, I'll give you the final word. Just in terms of, it's been 6 years. This was an economic policy that was launched 6 years ago. Can we now settle the debate after today's 4-1 majority judgment that this, at least the implementation of this policy, which also the opposition had questioned both in Parliament as well as in the Supreme Court, that is now beyond doubt?
Is that to me?
Bindu Dalmia, yes.
Hello?
Yes, that is to you, ma'am. Bindu Dalmia, yes.
Yeah. Zakka, I would end with saying one thing, and statistics speak for themselves. India today accounts for the world's largest real-time digital payments, as India leads the world by clocking almost 40% of all such transactions in total. With 48 billion plus digital transactions in its kitty, India has topped the global list in 2021. It was almost 3x the transaction count of China, a distant second clocking 18 billion, and 6.5x the volume of US, Canada, and UK. So I think the figures speak for itself. And I will end with one more interesting statistic, that the volume of digital transactions has increased manyfold between 2016 to now, from 1.09 lakh transactions to 730 crore transactions of value, equivalent to 12 lakh crores in the single month of October.
22. All right, we'll leave it at that. Like I said, whether it is in digital payments, whether it is in tackling black money, fake currency notes, and of course now there is the legal stamp of approval on demonetization. It is a ringing endorsement, whichever way you look at it, from the Supreme Court of the policy, and one of the signature policies of the Modi government, certainly in its first term. Let's shift focus now to what is happening in Jammu and Kashmir. Two terror attacks within the span of 24 hours. Last evening, there was a terror attack that happened in Rajouri, in Jammu, in which 4 civilians were killed. After which, this morning, in the same area, in the same house there was an IED blast in which a child died as well as another individual, an adult. The Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor, Manoj Sinha, visited the attack site today. He assured the kin family of all the support possible. This comes after Kashmiri Hindus, Kashmiri Pundits have been saying that their security is being taken for granted and they're not being provided adequate security. They, in fact, kept all 4 bodies in the middle of the Dangri checkpost and demanded a visit from higher government officials. They also say that they want a written assurance from the government about the safety of the Hindu community in that area.
आपको भरोसा देता हूं कि खुद तौर तक जाएंगे, पूरे मामले की गहराई तक जाकर जितनी कठोरतम और प्रभावी कार्रवाई संभव वो की जाएगी। परिवारों को अपना परिवार मान करके प्रशासन जो भी करना होगा वो निश्चित रूप से होगा।
धमाके में जो लड़की इंजर्ड हुई है उसको ले जाते हुए सेना के जवान और जल्दी से कोशिश की जा रही है कि एम्बुलेंस यहाँ पे पहुंचे, उसको अस्पताल लेके जाया जा सके। राजीव तस्वीरों में बताने की कोशिश करो। अभी जो धमाका हुआ है उसमें 2 लोग जख्मी हो गए। दोनों जख्मियों को यहाँ से ले जाया जा रहा है। एरिया को कॉर्डन ऑफ कर लिया है। धमाका हुआ है, उनके कपड़े तक फट चुके हैं। इस समय उनको होश नहीं है। मैं तस्वीरों में सामने दिखाने की कोशिश करूंगी कि उनको हॉस्पिटल ले जाया जा रहा है। और एक बड़ा धमाका हुआ है। आप देख सकते हैं कि इन महिला के कपड़े तक फट चुके हैं। इनकी तबीयत हालत इनकी खराब है। एम्बुलेंस का इंतजार किया जा रहा था कि ये जवान जल्दी से इसका मतलब है कि जब उन्होंने रात को फायरिंग की थी तब वहां पे वो ग्रेनेड भी था। जो अभी धमाका हुआ है वहां पर बहुत बड़ा धमाका हुआ है। एक आईडी ब्लास्ट हुई है। इस वक्त की सबसे बड़ी ब्रेकिंग आईडी ब्लास्ट हुई है। बच्चा घायल हुआ है, कंधे पे लगी है। क्या हुआ बेटा?
पता नहीं, बम आया था, लगी है।
बम आया था? अभी तो हम ठीक थे, हम आपके घर से होके आए हैं।
हाँ तो अभी आया जा।
धमाका हुआ है, बच्चे को लगी है। इस जिप्सी में घायलों को लेके जाया जा रहा है। उसी घर में एक बड़ा हमला हुआ है। आईडी ब्लास्ट का होना एक बड़ा सवाल पैदा कर रहा है यहाँ पर पैदा कर रहा है कि आईडी ब्लास्ट कैसे हुई। क्या सुरक्षा में कहीं कमी बरती गई? क्या कॉर्डन ऑफ जो एरिया किया था, सारे एरिया ने कॉर्डन ऑफ किया था, पूरा सर्च चल रहा था, तो क्या सर्च में कहीं कमी रही? गांव वाले डर चुके हैं। गांव का माहौल खौफजदा हो चुका है। सारे खामोश हो चुके हैं। सिर्फ सवाल हर एक की जुबान पे इतना ही है कि क्या कहीं सुरक्षा में कोताही बरती गई थी। न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया पर आप देख रहे हैं इस वक्त की सबसे बड़ी खबर। यहाँ पर आए तो थे फायरिंग की कवरेज करने की, लोग चले गए इस दुनिया से। 4 लोगों के शवों का अभी इंतजार था कि उनको दाह संस्कार करना है, लेकिन इतना बड़ा धमाका होना एक बहुत बड़ा सवाल यहाँ पर पैदा कर रहा है।
आपके ये जान पहचान
कौन? मेरे साथ काम करता 15 साल हो गए। लड़का गृह में काम करता था, बहुत अच्छा लड़का था जी, ईमानदार लड़का था। 15 साल से काम कर रहा।
माँ तो उनकी पहले 10 महीने का था, वो उसकी माँ मर गई थी, हमने पाला था इसको, तो सब कुछ शादी करवाई, पढ़ाया, मैट्रिक पास की थी। उसके बाद बोलना आगे नहीं पढ़ूंगा, फिर दिहाड़ी लगाता था, नौकरी तो मिली नहीं, दिहाड़ी लगाता था वो। इंसाफ तो चाहिए चाहिए। देखो हम तो खत्म हो गए हैं, चाहे और को घर तो ना बर्बाद हो, मिलने के लिए कोई पुख्ता इंतजाम करे गवर्नमेंट।
ये अनफॉर्चुनेट वाक़ा पेश आया है और हमारे लोगों का नुकसान इस वाक़ा में हुआ है। बड़ा ही कायराना तरह का हमला है और इस कार्रवाई के बाद पुलिस सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस अपना काम कर रही हैं, देख रहे हैं कि उन तक कैसे पहुंचा जाए और हमारी कोशिश है कि जो दुश्मन है उनका जल्द से जल्द सफाया हो। हम लोग अभी परिवारों के साथ अपनी हमदर्दी पेश करने के लिए आए थे, हमने अपनी हमदर्दी पेश की है इनके साथ अपनी सब लोगों ने मिला है अभी, और हमारी यही कोशिश है कि परिवारजन अपने प्रियजनों का जो है, जिनकी जानें गई हैं, उनका संस्कार हो जाए और अमन के साथ ये लोग अपने घरों में रहें। बाकी सुरक्षा की जितनी ज़रूरतें हैं उनको फिर से रिव्यू किया जाएगा और जहाँ जहाँ ज़रूरत है सुरक्षा की और भी जो है वो इंतजाम किए जाए।